Hello, I'm Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, and welcome to my website and my latest video. Over my shoulder you'll see a basketball goal, of course. You'll see a basketball here in my hands, and we're going to talk about a basketball leadership figure, former UCLA coach John Wooden. I want to spend our brief time today talking about a what-if question from John Wooden's leadership experience. I'd like you to think about what it means from the standpoint of Wooden's leadership, and then I'll ask you to think about it in your own leadership experience. But a certain what-if question. Before I get to that question, though, let me give you just a quick summary, if you don't know it, of some of Wooden's amazing leadership accomplishments. As a basketball coach, John Wooden led the UCLA Bruins to 10 national collegiate basketball championships. That's unheard of, and nobody's ever touched that number of championships. Secondly, 7 of those championships came consecutively, which is, again, an amazing record, and no one's come close to matching that. Third, Wooden's teams over the course of a few seasons won 88 consecutive games. Yet again, a record that nobody can match at this point. As far as Wooden himself is concerned, at the time, John Wooden was the only person to be inducted into the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, both as a player and as a coach. It had never happened before at the time when Wooden went into the Hall. So he's an amazing individual with a phenomenal record as a leader. But again, I want to ask you a what-if question from his life. For those of you who know a little bit about Wooden, you might think that you know the question I'm going to ask. You might believe that the question would be, what if John Wooden had become the basketball coach at the University of Minnesota instead UCLA? He had the chance, in fact he was wanting to become the basketball coach at U of M in 1948. As it turned out, UCLA called him first. He was waiting for the call from the Golden Gophers, but UCLA called him first and he took that job. So you might think, well, gee whiz, what if Wooden had taken the University of Minnesota basketball job? How would his leadership experience have changed after that point? That's not the question, the what if question I want you to ponder. Here's the one that I've got for you. In 1942, John Wooden, this is several months after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor and the United States goes into World War II, John Wooden joins the U.S. Navy. And he is slated to go on to an American destroyer in the South Pacific. Right before he is sent on board ship, again for his naval duty, right before that point, Wooden suffers from an attack of appendicitis. Lays him out for quite some time. Another officer goes in his place on that destroyer. Not long thereafter, a Japanese kamikaze pilot will slam into the side of that destroyer, and the officer who replaced Wooden dies in the attack. That's my what-if question for you. What if John Wooden had not suffered from appendicitis? What if John Wooden had gone on to serve on board that destroyer in the South Pacific, and the Japanese pilot would instead, among the many people that he killed, he would have killed John Wooden? You think about how the world that Wooden ended up knowing would have been vastly different had that happened. Players, fans, just general followers later on in Wooden's life, all of those people would have been deprived of the influence and the example of John Wooden. By the way, one thing you may not realize is that John Wooden had basically 3 careers. He began as an English teacher. His second career was as a basketball coach at UCLA, as I'd mentioned, from 1948 to 1975. He's still a teacher in that capacity, I suppose. And then his third career, again, a kind of a teaching strand runs through all of this. His third career, it begins in the 1980s as a kind of a leadership inspirational speaker. He talks to corporations and all kinds of professional groups and associations and shares his experiences and his beliefs about leadership and success in life and all the rest. So he had a remarkable span, and he's still living, by the way, a remarkable span of 3 very impressive careers, with teaching as the thread that runs through all of them. I often ask you 2 questions, and I've got 2 questions for you today. What is your big what-if moment? What example can you think of from your own life where if you had gone this way instead of that way, things would have been vastly different for you? I've actually got one similar to Wooden's. I was seconds away from being involved in a very severe accident with a semi-truck. As it turned out, the truck missed me by a matter of probably 10 feet. I would have gone off a riverbank, off a river embankment, off a bridge, and goodness knows what would have happened. So I kind of had a little similar situation in that regard. So what's your what if question that could have changed the outcome, or at least where you feel like you are today, both as a person and as a leader? Now the second question is a little bit more even abstract than that, if you can imagine that, and that is in the sense of the what if moment that you've selected. How have you contributed to life and the world and people around you as a result of that choice? What contributions can you say, Dan, I was able to do X, Y, and Z because of the choice or of what happened to me or didn't happen to me on that particular day? By the way, I have something new for you on the website. I'd like you, if you get a chance, go on the website. You'll see I've got some remarks on there about John Wooden, including a few of them that might be just a little bit controversial, and I'd be interested in your particular views. You're also going to see available on the website for John Wooden, the John Wooden selection in the Commonplace book, you're going to see a chance to, for a very, very modest fee, purchase what I think are 3 of Wooden's most important leadership techniques. I've written a brief, practical, easy-to-use guide to 3 specific techniques that I think could make a big impact on your leadership today and in the days ahead. I'm Dan Miller. It's a beautiful day out here. I may go back here now and see if I can actually hit a jump shot. We'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and you can bank on the fact that I wish you all the best.